Hi, I'm Rich Pretty, the Technical Director of Infrastructure.net, and I'm going to walk you through the simplest version of our work management solution. This streamlined process would be perfect for a small organization or really anyone who wants to track work without getting too deep in the weeds with trades, contractors, managing a parts warehouse, detailed tracking of itemized costs, etc. Before we dive in and walk through the life of a service request, let's first look at where we're trying to end up. Oftentimes, when you're looking at a new process, it can be helpful to see what you're going to get out of it at the end to better understand the context of what you're doing. So we'll quickly look at two common reports that we would expect to get out of the system, and that way we can return to them later and see how they've changed after a service request has been processed. This first report is a multi-page comprehensive summary of many different metrics, but for simplicity, let's just look at this first page. Here we have a handful of roll-up numbers about the work that has been done this month, showing us things like how many service requests were completed and how much they all cost. We'll just note these numbers for later. Another common report shows us chargebacks, sometimes referred to as special services. These are service requests that need to be paid directly by the appropriate department or account. This report could be printed, signed, and filed if you're keeping hard copies of those kinds of details. Once again, we can just quickly note the numbers associated with this first department, and we can return to this later. Okay, we have our context. We want to track the status of service requests, notifying the requester of the progress along the way, and we want to be able to easily analyze costs and potentially use chargeback reports to pay for special services. So let's get started. First, let's submit a service request on behalf of a customer. The system does have forms that can be accessible to an end user on whatever device they have, but for simplicity, we'll look at this from a help desk perspective here. We can select our requester from a list of personnel using the search box to quickly find the individual we're looking for. Then, we'll enter some details about the issue that they are reporting. This includes the problem category and type, as well as a detailed description of the issue. Also important is the location, of course, and here we can use the floor plans to quickly identify where the problem can be found. We'll mark the request as special service, indicating it should be charged back to the department responsible for the space. And finally, we can decide on the starting status of the request. When someone outside of facilities submits a request, it'll come in under requested status, but as the help desk, we can jump ahead in the process, marking this as issued and ready to be resolved. The service request is now being tracked by the system, and the requester will have received a notification telling them that we have all the info we need to proceed. In this scenario, perhaps we need to notify a building manager or a trades worker that we have on staff to go and resolve the issue. We could potentially physically print this out onto paper and share it with the person doing the work. Once the issue is resolved, we can simply come into our list of service requests, click on the row for the one we were just working with, and mark it as completed. By doing this, you'll see that we are being asked to enter a total cost and some notes on the completion that can be sent back to the requester. So that our example is a little bit more clear, we will enter a rather absurd large cost for our resource summary, and we can enter a couple of notes about what happened during the processing of this request. So we can push save here at the bottom, and our service request has now been completed. It will be removed from our queue, and the requester will have received a notification letting them know that the work is done. So we can now return to our dashboard, and let's take a look at how the numbers have changed. We'll go to our overall summary and wait for that to load. By default, many of these reports will show the previous month, so the last complete month that we have numbers for. So let's switch over to our filter. Let's change the date on the report and reload it. With our report now showing our current month, we can compare these numbers to our previous report. Let's head back to our dashboard one more time, and we'll take a look at our special services report as well. As with our summary, we'll want to set the focus date to our current month. And now we can compare this to our previous numbers. Here you can see that our chargeback costs have increased and could be ready to present to the relevant department head for funding. So, that's the most streamlined version of the on-demand work system. It makes it very easy to receive requests for service or submit them ourselves on behalf of others. It tracks the status of these requests, notifying the folks involved at each stage of the process, and offering a survey system after the fact to see how your requesters think you're doing. Finally, the system lets you quickly and easily access summaries, charts, graphs, scorecards, and all manner of reports to help you analyze the health of your organization. All of this adds up to a system that can help you keep everyone efficient, better informed, and more accountable.